I have an NFL conspiracy. And if there is one thing that fans love once their team has been eliminated, it's a good conspiracy. Hey everyone, it's Josh here from No Buts About It. And if you have been following the show for really any amount of time, you know that I have been a huge spokesperson for Christian McCaffrey to win MVP this season. But as we've been debating guys like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, and Brock Purdy, I have realized something. The guy who I have been advocating for, Christian McCaffrey, is at the biggest disadvantage of all of the names that we just listed, because he is a running back. Whoa. Before you click off, this isn't I realized the MVP is a quarterback award video. No, this isn't that. This is a video talking about how Christian McCaffrey could have done anything, and he never would have won MVP. He could have gone 17-0. The 49ers could have only scored rushing touchdowns through him. If he scored 50 rushing touchdowns, had 10,000 yards, he still wouldn't have gotten MVP. And I have a reason that I believe this. But to explain that reason, we have to go back to the previous offseason to establish context that I believe a lot of people have forgotten about, either just because of time or they have chosen to forget about it. Now, this all started when Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, and Saquon Barkley all came due to have their contracts extended or renewed. Jacobs, Pollard, and Barkley were all given the franchise tag, and they had to play on a $10.1 million tag if they wanted to stay with the team they were at, or they would have to hold out. The NFL erupted over this. Running backs from all different teams were saying stuff, especially Austin Ekeler, who held a Zoom meeting with running backs to discuss the markets and how the position was being devalued. To really get into the mindset of what was going on, let's look at just a few tweets that running backs tweeted around that time period. So Derrick Henry said, "At this point, just take the running back position out of the game. Then the ones that want to be great and work as hard as they can to give their all to an organization. Just seems like it don't even matter. I'm with every running back that's fighting to get what they deserve." Christian McCaffrey, who is the topic of this video, tweeted, "This is criminal. 3 of the best players in the entire league, regardless of position." That was in reference to Jacobs, Pollard, and Barkley. Austin Ekeler said, "This is the kind of trash that has artificially devalued one of the most important positions in the game. Everyone knows it's tough to win without a top running back, and yet they act like we are discardable widgets. I support any running back doing whatever it takes to get his bag." And Najee Harris, who is another guy to watch. Derrick Henry and Austin Ekeler are both free agents. Najee Harris, I expect Steelers to pick up his 5th-year option, but we'll see. He tweeted, "I agree with my running back brothers around the NFL. History will show you that you need running backs to win. We set the tone every game and run through walls for our team and lead in many ways. This notion that we deserve less is a joke." And the big one that had a ton of controversy tied to it is Jonathan Taylor, the Colts running back. He responded to a tweet from Matt Miller, the NFL draft scout, that said, 1. Draft a running back. 2. Play the running back. If he's good, 3. Franchise tag the running back one time, which was what was happening to Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, and Saquon Barkley. And then draft a running back. Jonathan Taylor responded, 1. If you're good enough, they'll find you. 2. If you work hard enough, you'll succeed. If you succeed, 3. You boost the organization. And then, doesn't matter. You're a running back. The reason Jonathan Taylor specifically stirred up a lot of controversy with this is he ended up on the physically unable to perform list somewhat randomly. It seemed odd from an outside perspective. Taylor even claimed he wasn't hurt. He claimed that he was able to perform, but that the Colts were doing that so that he couldn't be traded as he requested, and he was holding out. Eventually, he does get an extension, though, and we will talk about that a little later. Let's look at some of the situations some of these running backs were in as well, though. Josh Jacobs was sitting in his car on the day of the deadline to extend him. And he was sitting in his car with Max Crosby outside the stadium, waiting for the call to come inside and sign a contract. That call never came. Now, I know $10 million is a lot of money. I agree. I wish I had $10 million. We're talking NFL money here. And imagine you're sitting outside your job, waiting for your boss to call you to tell you you're going to get a raise. And you fully expect to get a raise because you were the top performer last year at your company, like Josh Jacobs was. He was the rushing leader in the NFL. You expect a raise, and you never get that call. That's what happened to Josh Jacobs. Saquon Barkley didn't get an extension despite Daniel Jones getting one, and a very big extension at that. Daniel Jones' contract is huge for a guy of his caliber. And Barkley even reportedly was willing to come down, and the Giants and him never got a deal done. They were $1 to $2 million apart. We'll see if that comes to bite them this offseason. Eckler requested a trade but was not given one, and instead agreed to a restructured contract and $1.75 million in incentives. He is now a free agent along with Derrick Henry. We will see what Eckler kind of brings to the table this year in terms of contract negotiations. He did have a down year. We'll see what happens. Taylor, like I just said, sought a trade, mysteriously ended up on the PUP list. There was a ton of drama surrounding that. Nobody really seemed to know what was happening. He did sign an extension in October, though. 3-year, $42 million, $26.5 million guaranteed. Taylor was the first running back since Nick Chubb in 2021 to get a payday. And Nick Chubb got a 3-year, $36 million, $20 million guaranteed. So a little more is what Taylor brought in. But Nick Chubb was the last guy to get a major payday. And that was 2 years ago. It's absolutely wild. So let's look at Christian McCaffrey's stats. Christian McCaffrey had a phenomenal year. He has been so fun to watch. He has been an X factor for the 49ers. And I believe he is the best player on the best team in the NFL. If the 49ers are the Avengers, then Christian McCaffrey is Tony Stark. 1,459 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns, 564 receiving yards, and that's 14 rushing touchdowns. He added 7 receiving touchdowns on top of that for a total of 2,023 scrimmage yards and 21 touchdowns total. Now, 2,023 scrimmage yards may not seem like a lot. We've seen more before. Even Christian McCaffrey has gotten more before in his career. However, this season, we saw some weird numbers with running backs, and the next closest running back was Breece Hall. Breece Hall had 1,585 scrimmage yards. Christian McCaffrey had almost 600 more scrimmage yards than the next guy. That is how dominant he was at the running back position in a game that is actively trying to devalue the position. Christian McCaffrey was the guy. And people will say, well, Brock Purdy can't get MVP because he has Christian McCaffrey. And then they say Christian McCaffrey can't get MVP because he has Brock Purdy. Pick one. It can't be both. One has to be better than the other. One has to be more valuable than the other. Pick one. Let's look at the running backs who won MVP. So since 1990, only 8 running backs have won MVP. That's Thurman Thomas, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders, Terrell Davis, Marshall Faulk, Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Adrian Peterson. Peterson is the only one to win it since 2010. He won it in 2012. Now this makes sense as the game evolves and changes and the quarterback has become more valuable, but that doesn't mean there shouldn't be exceptions. When we have mediocre quarterback play across the board, and it's kind of like, well, I guess we got to give it to this guy, which I believe is what is happening this year, I think we should consider other positions more. I mean, I know Lamar Jackson played great. I know that he had a great season, but he did not wow me. Lamar Jackson has less than 30 total touchdowns. His rushing and his passing yards combined, I don't even think equal 5,000. If they do, it's barely. He's not a 4,000-yard passer. He did well protecting the ball, and that's really the only thing he has over Josh Allen. Josh Allen has him beat in literally almost every other category. He has more passing touchdowns. Josh Allen has more rushing touchdowns, but Josh Allen has all those interceptions. So that's what's keeping Josh Allen out of the conversation. I really do think this is a season that a running back should win or a wide receiver should win. But they won't. A running back will never win this award again. Definitely not in the near future. The NFL is currently fighting a battle to devalue the running back position. They're trying to tell both fans and the players, hey, this is just where the game has gone. This is the way it is now. If you want to be paid more, play a different position. But running backs, you're like the kickers of the offense. You are the least valued. Sorry, it's just the way it is. But boy, are they going to fight back. And they're going to look for everything they can to prove that. And the NFL knows that. Now, let's think about this for a second. We have Christian McCaffrey, the face of the running backs. He's the top running back in the NFL. How would it look if in the same season that all these running backs threatened holdouts, that the NFL starts convincing players or trying to convince players and fans that the running back position is not as valuable anymore and is easily replaced? They gave the most valuable player award to a running back. Christian McCaffrey would become the Katniss Everdeen of this running back revolution. Austin Eckler has already spearheaded it. Austin Eckler has already started the fire. But Christian McCaffrey would become a Katniss Everdeen, standing up there with his 3 fingers up whistling, saying, hey, I was the most valuable player, and I'm a running back. We're still valuable. What would NFL owners do? NFL owners wouldn't know what to do. So the voters aren't going to be allowed to vote a running back in for MVP. They aren't going to be allowed to, they're not going to be prevented, but I think it's going to be strongly suggested that they don't vote for Christian McCaffrey. That's why I think there's such a big push to vote for all these other guys, even if it's not Lamar Jackson. There's a push to vote for Josh Allen or Brock Purdy, anyone but Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey could have done anything. Christian McCaffrey will not be allowed to win MVP because then running backs would be able to say that they are a valuable position and they have a face to prove it. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Do you think a running back will ever win MVP ever again? And if you do, who do you think it will be? Who do you think this year's MVP will be? Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, go do something nice for someone.